Let's just call a spade a spade. Most people out here living their whole lives under a name they didn't choose, beliefs they didn't question, and a personality they built just to survive. They wake up every morning, put on a mask, and call it a day. But you're starting to feel it, aren't you? That quiet rumble under the surface, like something in you has been misnamed, misplaced, misaligned for years. Because deep down, your soul is done with the performance. It's not interested in who you pretended to be. It wants to know who were you before the world told you who to be. This isn't about ego. This is about essence. And until you reclaim your true identity, you'll always feel like a guest in your own life. Let's break it down. On the awakened path, identity isn't just your name or your job title. It's not your zodiac sign or the trauma responses you've normalized into personality. Your true identity is the divine signature your soul carried before you ever touched this earth. Before systems, before trauma, before programming. And reclaiming it, it's not about finding yourself. It's about remembering yourself. See, the Matrix will hand you a pre-approved identity the minute you're born. Here's your race. Here's your gender. Here's your religion, political party, social class, and what side of town you get to live on. Here's what you should want. And here's what you'll never have. If you don't rebel against it, you'll accept the costume and call it fate. But if you do rebel, you start to peel back the layers. And that's where it starts to get uncomfortable. Spiritual warfare is identity warfare. If the parasite patrol can convince you you're powerless, broken, or unworthy, you'll live like it. You'll make choices that aren't really choices. You'll settle for relationships, jobs, lives that your true self would never tolerate. So what's the point of all the fear, chaos, division? Simple. To make you forget. Forget your divinity. Forget your mission. Forget that you were born with the frequency of a god disguised in human skin. The more you forget, the easier you are to control. But the moment you remember, even just a flicker of who you truly are, you become a threat. Let's keep it real. Most people don't even know they're wearing a mask. They think they're being themselves because they have preferences. But most of those were planted by parents, peers, pastors, politics, pain. You'll know you're living under a false identity when you keep shrinking to make others comfortable. You feel disconnected from your own decisions. You're exhausted just from performing normal life. Or when you hear the question, who are you really? And your mind goes blank. The truth is, you're not confused. You're just disconnected. From your source, from your soul, from your original frequency. And the journey back, that's the path of awakening. Let's go deeper. There are layers to identity. You have the false identity built from survival, shame, or social reward. Looks good on paper, feels like a cage. Then there's cultural identity rooted in lineage and history, but often shaped by colonization and trauma. And soul identity, your eternal self, unshakable, wordless, ancient. You may have to grieve some of the false identities. You might have to burn old masks and say goodbye to entire versions of yourself. That's the cost of truth. But on the other side, you get your life back. You get yourself back. Your identity determines your vibration. Your vibration determines your reality. So if you're wondering why nothing's aligning, check who you're being. Because purpose won't align with the false self. And abundance won't flow to an identity built on fear. The universe responds to truth, not performance. And your soul, it's been trying to wake you up this whole time. Through pain, patterns, people leaving, dreams crashing, mirrors shattering. Not to break you, but to bring you home. So let me ask you this. Who were you before the programming? Before the expectations? Before the mask? Not the brand version, not the socially acceptable version. The raw, eternal version of you. The one that remembers. This is your call. To drop the costume. To reclaim your name. To stop editing your soul to fit into cages you were never meant to occupy. Because when you remember who you are, everything else remembers you. The path opens, the power activates, and you stop surviving and finally start living. Know yourself.